Well, hello everyone. It's about time we kicked off, I think. First of all, hello everyone. Great to see such a large crowd ready for this evening before we commence. Happy New Year. A really warm welcome to the first of our series of OC Q&A events. Who am I, do you say? Well, I'm not the warm-up act and I'm definitely not the star attraction. If we haven't met before, I'm Stuart Evans, I'm Head of Alumni Relations, and my role tonight is simply to remind you to post any questions in the chat box. For Freddie, be nice, be kind, okay? We'll try and get to those at the end as well. But more importantly, to introduce our wonderful OC hosts for the evening. So without further ado, Ella and Hugo, over to you.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for joining us. So yeah, as Mr. Evans just said, we're both quite recent OCs. We both left in 2019 and are both now studying at Cambridge. I'm studying French and German. Hugo, over to you.
Yeah, I'm studying history and politics. So yeah, both Ella and I left in 2019. I was in North Cape, but yeah.
And we're both really pleased to be getting involved with OC events like this so quickly after leaving school. It does feel quite weird. I certainly feel like we should still be on the pupil side of things, but no, I think we were really keen to get involved in tonight's event, obviously because we wanted to get to know Freddie a bit more, but also because it was exciting to get involved in the OC community for pretty much the first time after listening to lots of great OC speakers at school.
So yeah, today we are interviewing the wonderful Freddie Highmore, who is an incredibly successful actor. So he's starred in movies such as The Spiderwick Chronicles, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and Finding Neverland, as well as hit TV series like The Bates Motel and The Good Doctor. Freddie was in Eastgate. He left Highgate 10 years ago, and we are really, really lucky to have him with us today. So hi, Freddie. It's great to meet you. I hope you had a lovely Christmas. It's been a different one for a lot of people, and for you too, I gather.
Yes, it's hello everyone. I can't believe it's been 10 years. That's really, really crazy. But yeah, I guess time flies. I'm here just outside of Vancouver in Canada, where we filmed The Good Doctor. And yeah, it was a bit of a bizarre holiday time. I had to go back, or wanted to go back rather, to see my family. Escaped just back to Canada, where I'm doing quarantine again. So, but yeah, I sort of feel lucky to be out here. The cases are relatively under control. So I guess first of all, I'm sort of sorry for you guys and for those watching who have been affected by this. But I can't imagine what it's the last to start up university and have it be affected in such a way. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not been great, but I suppose it always could be worse. But for you, it sounds like that's a great thing that you managed to get back to Vancouver. The verdant backdrop is a bit of a clue. So as you said, you're filming the latest series of The Good Doctor, and it's a huge show. And you were nominated for a Golden Globe for your role as Dr. Sean Murphy. I guess the question is, like, what was it like playing the role? Did you have to do lots of research or think about, brushing up on medical knowledge prior to filming? Do you feel like your knowledge of medicine is enhanced or anything?
I guess in terms of the medicine, no. Like I did maths and further maths at school, and French and Spanish for A level. So definitely finished my medical studies, that they were non-existent. And I certainly haven't really learned. I tried to do the research for the role, but then you end up learning the kind of fake shorthands of how to make it look good on screen rather than anything useful. So much so I feel like actually I would be worse in a genuine emergency than everyone else, because I'd have this fake accumulated knowledge. I think I know what I was doing, but I would just do completely the wrong thing. But yeah, I guess it's been a wonderful role to play, and I guess even more so over the last year, it's just felt. I guess I've just been so appreciative for real doctors out there who are genuinely doing things that we only have to pretend to do on a daily basis, and it definitely puts it into perspective.
So you're not confident of saving someone's life despite your on-screen role as a doctor, but we do know you're a big Arsenal fan. You've said in the past that the best place to catch you is at an Arsenal game. So do you think you can save their season at least?
No, but I mean, if you'd have asked me the question like a couple of weeks ago, then definitely the answer would have been much less positive than it is now. I mean, we're 3 points off Chelsea. I think things are looking up. Like we're behind Arteta again. It's going to be great. They definitely don't need my help.
Okay, and then staying with football, you played at school and then at university, and your brother Bertie currently plays for the OCs. Is there any chance of you playing for the OCs one day?
I'd love to. I mean, my brother more and more recently is reminding me that as I turn 29 in February, my days of being a footballer, I'm closer to retirement now than hopes of actually playing. So I guess I'd have to come and play pretty quickly. But yeah, I'd love to, for sure.
It would be great to have you on the team, I'm sure. Just briefly back to The Good Doctor, and your character, I guess. So your character, Sean Murphy, is autistic, and the series has been applauded, I hear, for tackling the obviously serious issue of autism. So as an actor and also now a director and writer in the series, you must feel a huge responsibility, I suppose, to ensure that you can reflect a character with autism quite accurately. How's that been?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely been the most important thing that we've wanted to get right. In terms of the actual medical things in the surgery, there are shortcuts, but there were no real shortcuts in terms of, portraying autism as authentically as possible. I think one of the big things was the realization early on that this character is never going to represent everyone who's on the spectrum. In the same way, a neurotypical lead character of a show is never going to represent everyone in the world who's neurotypical. And so we tried to focus a lot on just telling his individual story and telling the story of Sean and putting him in those situations and wondering how he will react. And of course, there was a lot of research. We've got a consultant who's on board the show full time, and David Shaw, the main writer, our showrunner, and I, we sat down many times and watched documentaries together and shared pieces of literature that we thought were going to prove useful to creating the character of Sean.
Yeah, that's a really interesting insight into the background for character work on such a complicated character. And at the start of your career, you were acting on TV from a really young age, from the age of 7, including with your brother, Bertie, and your father. In fact, your dad was in Doctor Who, and he played the lead in the big BBC drama Howard's Way, and your mother is a renowned acting agent. Has your family supported you in your acting journey, given their pretty extensive experience?
I mean, yes, they have been very supportive. It always makes me laugh when people put those facts out there, just because I've never felt like I came from a family that was sort of focused around the industry at all, or that was never really the focus of my life. Even growing up, I think it was just, being at school, and that felt like normality going into, primary school, and then obviously Highgate on a daily basis. That was like normal, and being at home was normal, and the other stuff felt like this fun addition to it. But yes, of course, they were really supportive, as was everyone at school, actually, in terms of letting me be able to do the things that I managed to do.
That's really interesting that you say that your school experience felt quite normal, because actually we've been doing some digging, and your teachers at school do actually all recall you as being incredibly happy, humble, and affable. So how was that for preparation then for playing the part of psychotic murderer Norman Bates? What was the link?
I mean, that's very nice of them to say. I can't imagine you'd invite people on here and then say, like, we did some research and your teachers all hated you. But still, that's nice. Hopefully I haven't changed and it hasn't gone, taken a turn for the worse in recent times. But yeah, I mean, I just briefly in terms of school, like I loved my time there, and it was I almost feel one of the regrets I have recently. It's been an amazing, and I've been very lucky to have been able to film so much in in Vancouver, and The Good Doctor films out here, and my adult life out on this side of the world. But it has been a shame not to be able to, get back into school and see people as much as possible, and also just friends from Highgate, that it always makes it difficult being on the other side of the world to keep in touch as much as one would like. Maybe that solitude as well is the perfect preparation for Norman Bates as he goes into his psychosis and descent into insanity. But yeah, I mean, Norman was not, look, he wasn't a great guy, but and he had a few issues, but I think he's still a nice guy. I'll always still support him. It wasn't his fault. He didn't mean to do the things that he did. It was just a tragedy that it all went wrong for him.
So you were at Highgate for a number of years. Did you enjoy school? Did you have a good time at Highgate?
Yes, yeah, no, very much so. Yeah, it was a wonderful time, from being the couple of years that I spent in the junior school and then coming up to the senior school. It was brilliant, and so many wonderful teachers and friends that I have from that time.
As we've been speaking about, you started acting from a really young age. So while you were at Highgate, did you ever perform in house drama?
I didn't. I missed a trick on that one. I'm sorry to let everyone down. Or maybe it's for the best. But no, I never really did that well at drama at school. There was, I think this was back in the early, when I was down in the junior school. But I definitely got a very low grade in drama from Mr. Mortimer, which I still remember. I think I was meant to be a laughing policeman. I don't know why this has stuck with me as a memory, but I was meant to be a laughing policeman, and I did a very bad laughing policeman. So I apologized to Mr. Mortimer, I guess, for letting him down in drama. that was the beginning of the end of my time doing drama at Highgate. I guess that was it. It's he can't do laughing policemen, so there's no point trying anymore.
That's very hard to believe. And to be honest, if I was your head of house, I think I would have been breathing down your neck to get you to do house drama, rack a few extra points. So your big break didn't come in house drama, but it did come as a 12-year-old in Finding Neverland. And then quickly followed was the role of Charlie in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So those are huge roles. How did you remain so grounded as a teenager? Was it thanks to your family? Was it thanks to school?
Yeah, I think both of those things, and as we were saying before, it never felt. I think also growing up in London, if I'd have been filming and doing those things in LA, I think it would have been harder to avoid that in a place where the industry is such a sort of central focus of what you're doing. So in London, it just felt that you were able to do other things, and it wasn't this environment where you had to be defined by the fact that you were doing films. And aside from everyone supportive and being supportive at school, and obviously my family, I think I was just really lucky to work with some wonderful, down-to-earth, lovely actors and actresses. So that really helped as well.
And one of those actresses that you worked with was Helena Bonham Carter. She's actually played your mother 3 different times on screen. Did your real mum ever get jealous of your relationship?
I don't know. I mean, maybe I don't even know if she's watching. Who knows whether they got the memo I was doing this? But no, I don't think so. She was probably happy to loan me out for a little bit to Helena, and she could take care of me for a couple of days, and then knowing I'd come back to her, I imagine. But yeah, Helena was one of those people who was so lovely to work with, and definitely took me under her wing, and in terms of being on set, and and just learning how to behave both as a decent, lovely human being as well as professionally on set.
That's really interesting. So at school, I gather you always took your academic studies really seriously. And post Highgate, you did study Spanish and Arabic at Cambridge. What was that experience like for you, and how did you balance the acting with the studies?
Yes, so I guess the first couple of years at university, I didn't do any acting whatsoever. And then it was on the year abroad where there was a little bit more time that freed up that I ended up doing Bates Motel and kind of getting back into it. But certainly the studies and academics were sort of, it felt natural to me, like having the opportunity to go to university, that I would try and make the most of that. And I think I also was aware that if I had have just left, is acting something that I actively chose? Or is it something that I just fell into? Like, I wanted it to be a sort of active decision after university and as an adult to kind of return to it if that was something I was going to do.
So while you were starring as Evan Taylor, who is a musical prodigy, in August Rush, you learned how to play the guitar. Do you still keep up to date?
No, I was not. I didn't become a musical genius, unfortunately. I learned the songs that I had to learn, so they could use my hands, but that was it. And I didn't really learn the musical, like how to read music with the guitar. I just more learned how to move my fingers in the right way to make the right sound. But I should definitely get back into it. It's one of those things that's just. I'll have time again in the future to get back to that.
So you've dabbled in music, you've been successful in switching from film to TV, and you're now also moving into writing and directing. We'd love to hear more about that and like where your plans, what you're thinking about with regards to the future, with regards to those plans.
Yeah, I think working in television and being involved in sort of telling stories over a longer period of time just made me aware on Bates Motel that I wanted to get involved in that other side of things. And it sort of was it came kind of naturally thinking, oh, now I start to have ideas of how I'd like to direct this scene, or ideas of, episodes that I'd want to write, and wanting to contribute beyond acting. So I was really lucky to have, the sort of supportive writers on Bates Motel, the main writers, Kerry and Carlton, who just allowed me to write an episode and then get to direct an episode as well in the last season. So that was sort of the start for me of wanting to be involved in things more widely. And I enjoy every part of it. I feel like the writing is a little bit more, it's sort of it fills in a bit for the academics that, the sort of sitting at home and studying side of things and just like being a bit bookish. That probably sounds very nerdy, but you get that kind of solitary side and when you're writing, and then obviously being on set and act. So they kind of have, for me anyway, gone relatively neatly together.
So really interesting look at how you've like combined the different job roles you're kind of taking on. And even though you're only 28, you actively avoid social media. Is there any reason for that?
It's not like an active, I mean, I guess it, and so then it's not like I got it and then I got rid of it and decided I'd never want to do it because I had some dreadful experience. I guess when I first started acting, it wasn't really a thing. Obviously, Facebook came along and people were on social media by the time I left school, but at sort of 10, 11, it wasn't this big, you had like MSN Messenger and that was sort of it. So I guess it had always kept me, or made me able to keep those things relatively separate, the being on set part and the acting side, and then kind of normal life. And I guess that distinction to me has just been easier to maintain over time by not having social media.
Seems like you've managed that extraordinarily well. Freddie, it's been such a pleasure for us and for all those watching in the UK and beyond. Before we go, any special message to Highgate pupils, past or present? Any shout outs?
I mean, in terms of shout outs, it's going to be, I feel like if I mention people, then loads of people will be offended if I didn't mention them. But I should definitely mention a few people. I mean, the subjects I did at A-level, I really loved. Mr. Will, Mr. Abramson were brilliant maths teachers. And in terms of the languages, Mr. Bryan, I'm not sure if any of those people are still at Highgate, but he was a wonderful teacher too. Mr. James from the junior school, who I know is still there, he was just so supported from the very beginning of the opportunities, of me pursuing the opportunities that I had when I was younger. And sort of, yeah, I owe a lot to him and Vicky Stubbs as well, you know, our wonderful Eastgate leader when I was there. So there's a few people, and obviously there are many, many more. So, but yeah, I genuinely had it was lovely to speak with the two of you, and also just really lovely to get to feel connected to Highgate in a little bit of a way, even though now I feel definitely older than when I came on before.
Fantastic. Well, me again, everyone. Sorry for interrupting. I think we could have gone on all evening, couldn't we, with that? I am now almost the one between you and supper, or tea where I'm from. But before that, a couple of questions from the audience. Quite a tough one, Freddie, to kick off.
No, I thought I'd escaped. I thought it was okay. No. Hugo and Ella were so kind.
I know. Sorry, it's not me. What was the audition process like in getting the role in Bates Motel?
Well, that's not too bad. I thought it was going to be like when you got a detention for this, like what happened? What were you thinking? For that one, I ended up putting myself on tape in London and sort of sending that to, I'd spoken to the main writers about it and to the director who was doing the pilot, and they sort of gave me the vague idea of what things were, what they were looking for in the character, and so I put myself on tape, and that got sent off to them, and then I ended up getting the role.
Brilliant. And which actor do you admire most, and why?
Oh, so many people. I mean, Helena now just comes to like the top of my head because we've been speaking about her this evening, or this morning for me. But yeah, I think it's just the range of characters that she's able to play, and the ability to kind of do something that's so out there and crazy, and at the same time finding a way of making it grounded and feeling real. And actually Vera Farmiga, who I got to work with on Bates Motel, has a similar ability, I think, of it never feels too over the top with Vera. It never feels massive and unbelievable, but she's able to do so much and bring such sort of life and character to the role of Norma, especially.
And another question here. So what kind of stories are you interested in telling in the future through your writing? Do you have any particular ambitions?
Yes, I mean, in terms of acting, I guess I've always just been looking to play slightly different roles in everything that I do, and not wanting to to feel like I'm just playing the same part again and again in a different show or a different film. I think something that does link it, though, and that I've been trying to think about in terms of producing and writing, and is just being aware, I guess, that the characters I've been drawn to feel like they're not your sort of stereotypical alpha male leads. Norman isn't like super muscly superhero, and I guess Sean on The Good Doctor definitely isn't your kind of traditional male lead of a show. So I think it's it just feels more and more important in these times to portray male characters on screen that aren't necessarily the stereotypes we've gotten used to. And I think that's not only entertaining because we all will be able to relate to it, but I think it's also helpful in terms of people being aware of how to be good people and what it is to be a man. That was a very long-winded, slightly like in-depth answer, so I'm sorry. It's not really the sort of end of a question. At the end of a Q&A type question, it felt like it was opening up some huge debate, but anyway.
Not at all. And you've mentioned obviously missing the UK a little bit as well. And somebody has asked, would you ever like to work back in the UK again? Is that a possibility?
To go back, you cut out briefly.
Sorry, would you ever like to work? Sorry, Freddie. Would you ever like to work back in the UK again? And is that a possibility? Without giving too much away.
Definitely. I would love to. Yeah, very, very much so. That would be, I mean, you know, I'm in Vancouver for the time being, but definitely London still feels like home, even if I don't get to spend as much time there as I'd like. And so getting to do something and filming there would be wonderful.
Yeah. And I know that Ella and Hugo have done an awful lot of performing and acting as well. And not from them, but from another person who's typed in. Do you have a specific method for preparing your roles, kind of either in advance or before you go on set? And if so, how do you go about it? Any advice for any budding actors?
I guess it's depended on the role. Like in terms of Sean, there was more research that was required in terms of the autism. I wouldn't say I have any particular like weird tricks, or sometimes the American accent, I try and stay in that as much as possible, sort of on and off set. So it feels a bit weird now speaking in my relatively normal voice, because I sort of get back to Canada and try and get the accent going a little bit, but no, there's nothing too out there, I guess.
Brilliant. And final question. It's a question from Indonesia, who says that they love your portrayal of Victor Ferguson in The Close to the Enemy, which was on BBC. Especially you portray Victor Ferguson's bipolar and PTSD. How much background research did you go into the Second World War, and especially Monte Cassino and mental health in that period? Was that difficult?
Yeah, a very, I guess, a very specific question, but a great one. That was something I got to film in the UK, which was brilliant. And as I didn't hear the name of the person who asked this question from Indonesia, but as they said, you know, a lot of research needed to be done for that one too, in terms of mental health. And well, thank you for your question. And yes, much research for that one too.
Great. Well, that's fantastic. Cheers, Freddie. And now it's definitely time for tea or supper or whatever you call it.
Well, you could all go and have like a glass of wine, and I've got my day ahead of me. But yeah,
not on a school night. No. Definitely. But I mean, first, I'm sure you know you'd like me to thank everybody out there. Would like me to thank everyone on behalf of you and the Cholmeleian Society, to thank people who've made this possible. First of all, I'd like to thank Jasmine and Claire in the development office for their expertise in setting up this event. Always much appreciated, and thank you again for making this go so well. To Ella and Hugo, our wonderful and accomplished hosts. Well, guys, I mean, you've certainly got a future in this, I think, in terms of interviewing as well, and whatever the future brings, and I'm sure it'll be a bright one, and great to have you on board at such an early stage after leaving school. Thank you very, very much. And Freddie, thanks for sharing your amazing experiences. It's great to see you again. We're all really, really proud of what you've achieved, and the person you are as well, and just thank you for the time you've taken out, and best of luck with the filming and the quarantine and the rest of it as well. Keep in touch.
Thank you very much to all of you for tuning in and for making this possible and having me on, and listening to whatever I had to say over the last half an hour.
No, it was fantastic. It was really, really enthralling and enjoyable. And finally, guys, before we bid you farewell for the evening, a shameless plug for our upcoming events as well, please. So we'll be sending emails out as well, etc., about the details of those as well. But hope you can join us next time, and thanks for being here with us this evening. So thanks, Ella, Hugo, Freddie, Jasmine, Claire, everyone else. Thank you. Good night. Have a safe evening. Bye.